This learning goal here, number 29, is all about justifying and critiquing solutions. Now, when it comes to math in general, I always talk to you about making sure to show your work. Now, the reason for doing that isn't just, to make you use up more paper or to, use up more pencil or, to make you frustrated. That's not at all the reason why we're doing that. The reason that we're doing that is because we want to make sure that if we do end up making mistakes, we know where to find our errors. Okay? So when we're solving problems in math, the answer is only a small part of the total solution. Okay? So it's only a small part of the total solution, meaning that there is more to the solution than just the answer. I know when we've been growing up and going through grade school math, often we're looking for what is the answer? What is 6 times 4? What is 1 plus 7? What is 27 divided by 9? We always are looking for just that singular answer. But as we move farther up, and especially when we're dealing with algebra, we're looking for the process. How did we come up with the answer? Because we want to make sure that someone else could actually repeat our solution and go through that. Some solutions, as I mentioned, are only one step long, and they are, I'm going to say, simple to check. Okay? If I tell you that 4 times 6 is 20, well, you can check that because you know that 4 times 6 is actually 24. Okay? That's a simple check. Others are solved through many steps and have more possibilities. Let's get that, spell that right. There are have more possibilities to make mistakes. Okay. Again, we can see just a simple mistake if we were to have just one-step solutions, but if there are a multi-step solution, there's a lot of things that we need to do. There are lots of places to make errors. Now, being able to catch mistakes is important to accuracy in solving problems. And we want to make sure we are accurate, and we want to make sure that we catch our mistakes. Seeing a mistake partway through a problem can help to diagnose a problem and determine the answer without having to complete the entire question again. Okay, so instead of having to do the entire question a second time, we can maybe look through our solution and say, oh, that is where I made a mistake. It was, the last little step, I made a little mistake. Done. I also like to use this especially for those when you are doing a question and you're like, why did I get the wrong answer? I can look through and say, oh, it's right there. Boink, figure out exactly where it was without having to go and actually do the entire question myself. When we're solving a linear equation, we're going to look mostly at linear equations and other types of solutions here. There are many different mistakes that can take place. I'm going to focus on two general categories here. The first one is operational mistakes. These are based on adding, subtracting, I might be able to guess the next couple words here, multiplying, and dividing errors. Okay, so those are what we call operational mistakes. These, okay, I'm going to say these are simple to make, okay, as we're often doing them fairly quickly. Okay, we often do these kinds of questions really quickly. We look and say, oh, look, it's 5 plus -2, and boom, we get 7. We forgot it was a negative. All right, not a big deal. We can easily catch that. They are really quick, and they are simple ones to make. We make them all the time in class. We make them all the time out of class. Okay, those are done because we tend to go sometimes a little bit too quick. These are going to result in incorrect answers. Okay, so they're going to result in incorrect answers. We want to make sure that we catch them, and when we do catch them, we can make the quick change and then move on from there. Another thing inside there is making sure about the positive and negative signs. Positive and negative signs are also problems that can arise when doing these operations. Like I said, if we do like 5 plus -2 and we kind of forget about the negative and just say, oh, it's 7, 5 and 2 make 7. Nope, we can't do that. So we've got to watch those positives and negatives as well. The second type of mistake that I'm going to kind of go through are what I would call order of operation mistakes. Order of operation mistakes. These are based on the order for which a problem is solved. It's the order in which a problem is solved. We know that things need to be solved in order, and sometimes we forget about the certain order, or sometimes we do something first when it should have been done second, and that can lead to a different mistake as well. It's important that we are able to catch those. Now, order of operation mistakes result when one step is not followed completely or at all when solving a problem. So if we don't follow a step, or we don't, or we just kind of miss it, or it's not followed completely, then we are potentially going to make a mistake, and we're not going to be able to find our answer. It's important that we catch these answers quickly because we don't want it to keep perpetuating through a question. A funny little anecdote, and maybe you can find this. If you've ever seen the show Big Bang Theory, I enjoy that. And in one of the episodes, Sheldon, the brilliant physicist, brilliant mathematician, he hands something to another guy and says, "It's great, and look at this." And the guy says, "Well, it would have been great, except you made a mistake on page 2." And that mistake on page 2 led through the entire thing being incorrect. Okay? We do very small problems, but once they start getting bigger, it's tough to make those mistakes. If we're looking at, let's say, a mistake of, let's say, on a house, okay? If I make a mistake when I do the foundation of the house, that's going to affect the entire integrity of the house. Okay? It's a little different if I make a mistake later on. Still might make an error, but it might not be as big of an error later on. We still don't want to make mistakes in anything we do. What we're going to be doing in this lesson here and in the assignment is taking a look at a question and trying to figure out where the mistake was made. And so I'm going to be asking you to solve for these questions. So let's take a look at the first one here. Okay? And we're going to just diagnose where these mistakes are made, and we're going to try to solve that later on. So this first one says solve when solve for y when x is equal to -2. So that means that we're taking the -2 and we're going to plug it in for x, which is what I did in the second part right here. All right, so that so far we've plugged in -2. That's correct. We didn't do anything else. The next step we need to do is multiply the two together. So we multiplied them together and we got -4. Then we took -4 and we added 3. -4 plus 3 is -1. Tells us that y is equal to -1. Did you see the mistake? Give you a second here. The mistake comes in an operational mistake here when we multiplied -2 and -2 together, and I got -4. There's our mistake. This is, put it in red here, operational mistake, as it should be +4. Okay? At this point right here, I'm just going to put it in, I'm going to write it in the way it should be. This should be y is equal to 4 plus 3. And then when we solve the next part, it's going to be y is equal to 7. There we go. Simple mistake. Okay, there was a simple operational mistake, and therefore we got an answer that was 8 different than the actual answer. That could be a really big difference. Okay, may or may not be. But this was an operational mistake. We found it, we correct it. Okay, find the correct answer. So look at the second one here. Here we want to solve for x. That means we need to isolate x and get it all by itself. So let's go through again and figure out, did we do it correctly? So the first part here, we have our equation. -4 is equal to 1/2 x minus 4 plus 6. So the first thing that we did is we subtracted 6 from both sides. Done. Then we multiplied everything by 2. To get rid of this, multiply it by 2. Next, we subtract 2 from this side to get negative 10. Where was the mistake? I'll give you a second. When I subtracted 6 from this side, when I was supposed to subtract 6, I actually just did negative 4 plus 6 and added them together right here. That should not be a plus 2. Somehow I changed the brackets before I did anything. I need to move this negative 6. I need to subtract it from both sides. That's what I should have done. This was my mistake. So let's correct my mistake. Okay. When we subtract 6 from both sides, what we should have gotten was negative 10 is equal to 1/2 x minus 4. And that should stay as x minus 4. Okay. Then, now we multiply by 2. So that part I did correctly. That's going to be negative 20 is equal to x minus 4. Then we add 4 to both sides, and we get negative 16 is equal to x. Difference of 6 this time. Was that the same? Maybe, maybe not. Okay, catch the mistake. This was an operational mistake where I added these two pieces together when they should not have been. Okay, they should not have been added together at that point. Okay, should have been done a little bit differently. I did everything else right, but I just made this small mistake. Showing your work tells me where you made mistakes and how we can fix it. Being able to catch those mistakes is the important part in this lesson right here. All right, your assignment for today, or in this lesson right here, is questions. Now let me just double check here which questions I was going to do. It's going to be the whole assignment. Okay, 1 through 5. Okay, questions 1 through 5. Now, some of the questions are going to look like this, where you have to find the error and then show me how you're going to do it correctly. Other times, I actually just give you the answer, and one of them might be right and one of them might be wrong. And I'm going to ask you to find where was the, or how may they have made the mistake. How could a person have made that mistake? I'm going to see if you can find where that mistake could be made without showing you any of the work. Okay, it's a lot more difficult than you think. Okay, it's something I do on a regular basis when I look at your assignments and I see a mistake without any work, and I need to try to figure out where you've made that mistake. Time for the assignment. All the best.